Portman, and then Senator Hagerty.
That chart's fine. All the charts are the same because the numbers don't lie. You know, it's incredible.
Good, though.
Yeah, I think mine was better done. But I mean, look at these numbers, folks. And this is with Title 42 in place. And Title 42, you know, is a public health emergency that says you can't come into the country because of COVID. And if you look at the numbers already, they don't take into account the fact that most people coming across the border are single adult males, most people. And unless you're a non-Spanish speaking person who Mexico would not like to have be sent back across the border, you know, you are now being caught up with Title 42. So Title 42 is keeping these numbers relatively small. And the concern is that when that changes, you're going to have a massive increase. For the Border Patrol, it's already out of control. If you go down there and talk to them, as I did earlier this year, I mean, they're overwhelmed. But they're also telling us, and if Title 42 isn't changed, it will absolutely overwhelm them and keep it impossible for them to keep not just people out, but the other contraband, including drugs. By the way, 40% increase in fentanyl last year coming over the border, 40% increase. This is the stuff that's killing 2/3 of the people in my state of Ohio and probably in your state through overdose deaths. 40% increase last year. We don't even know the numbers yet for this year, but we know it's going up and up. And that doesn't include cocaine and heroin and crystal meth and the other drugs that are coming across. My issue really is not so much with Title 42, it's with the underlying immigration policy. Because let's be honest, at some point Title 42 doesn't work. I mean, once we get beyond COVID, we're not quite there yet, and maybe we'll have another strain coming in, God forbid. But at some point, a public health emergency is not a policy position that's effective to control our border. What you need to do is change the asylum policy. Because right now we have a pull factor in our country. We are telling people if you come to the border and you claim asylum and you're not one of these single male adults who gets singled out because of Title 42, you can come in. And by the way, there's a 1.5 million person backlog for dealing with asylum claims. 1.5 million. This means that when you are allowed into the country to await an immigration judge looking at your case, there will be anywhere from 4 to 6 years before your case is considered. And meanwhile, you're in the United States. You know, your kids are there. You're working. Your kids are going to school. You're getting your health care. You're part of the community. And obviously, a lot of those people don't show up for their court case. Some do, some don't. But the point is, this system is attracting people to the border. And particularly for kids, unaccompanied kids, and for families, all of whom are getting asylum, and some single adult males are as well. Again, if you don't speak Spanish, you're likely to come in. By the way, you know who's coming up to the border now to come in through the asylum process? Ukrainians and Russians. And I'm told, we were just had a meeting of the Ukrainian caucus, and we were talking to some of our friends from Ukraine, from their parliament. I'm told that these individuals are flying to places like Cancun and Mexico City and coming up to the border. And why wouldn't they? It's the pull factor. Last year I met with 4 Latin American presidents in Latin America, Mexico, Guatemala, Colombia, Ecuador. They all said the same thing, in essence. Why are you guys taking our people and some of our best people? Why are you putting policies in place to pull people to your border? So I guess the assumption is among some people, gosh, Guatemala must be really happy to have all these people going to the United States. No, they aren't. They actually like to keep more of those people there. But we have a policy in place that incentivizes them to come to the border because they can just walk in under our asylum policy. So I was delighted to hear recently that the administration is going to put a new rule in place. It's a proposed rule. It's going to go in place in about 60 days to change the asylum policy. I was really encouraged. This is finally they're listening to those who are saying this makes no sense. We have said from the start, we need to have adjudications immediately. We need to put the money into this effort for new people coming over first, because that will discourage the next group from coming, right? Do the adjudication right away, yes or no? By the way, only 15% of the people from Central America end up getting asylum. Why? Because the vast majority are economic refugees, and God bless them. You would leave too if you lived in some of these conditions. But that's not what our immigration policy is. You got to come legally. So 15% acceptance rate in the end, 1.5 million people in line, 4 to 6 years to get to your immigration case. I was really happy to hear they were going to do immediate adjudications at the border. And what they said was, we're going to use asylum officers instead of immigration judges. I thought, well, that's good. That's good. We'll have more people there to be able to adjudicate these cases. If they're asylum officers, if they're well-trained, they can do it. Then we found out that they don't have the authority to say no. All they can do is say yes. If they come up with a no, then it goes to the process. So if you come up to the border and you meet an asylum officer and you provide your reasons for asylum, which is basically the same as refugee, credible fear, persecution, and it's a negative that, sorry, you're an economic refugee, you're gonna not be able to come in the United States. That's not what happens. Instead, the asylum officer is told, okay, that person now gets in line with everybody else. So is allowed in, comes into the country, 4 to 6 years, 1.5 million people, into the backlog. If the answer is yes, the asylum officer says, yes, you qualify. Come on in. Then you don't have to go through any system at all. You're in as an asylee. Well, what kind of system is that? That doesn't solve the problem. Senator Cornyn's got a bill that has immediate adjudication, centers along the border. There's a way to do this and still be a humane country that accepts people who come here legally, accepts people who do have a real fear of persecution, allows them to go through a process that makes sense. The current one doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help those countries in Latin America who tell us, stop this pull factor. It certainly doesn't help our communities who are being overwhelmed. It doesn't help in terms of the lawfulness of our immigration system because there's so many temptations there not to follow the law. Instead, let's encourage people to apply for asylum in their home country. Let's have people come up to the border and have immediate adjudication, yes or no answer. And let's get this under control, regardless of what happens with Title 42, because it can't last forever. It's a Band-Aid. Essential now, but shouldn't be essential if we had the right immigration policy underneath it.